Hi, Josh. It's Toby here.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm fine. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Oh well, thank you. Thank you for your will to talk about my little new baby.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so excited to be able to talk about it. I had such a great time being able to talk to you with the last album, and it's great to be able to talk about this album, which is already coming out tomorrow through Nuclear Blast. I mean, that's got to be a great feeling for you, knowing that it is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, it's finally it's like finally we unleash the beast. It's been done and recorded and ready for I think about eight months now. I think it's lying around 8 months now, waiting for the great day, and finally I can share it with the world.
Oh, it's so great to hear that. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to check out the album over the past few weeks, and I just love everything that's going on with this album. I mean, it feels like a great, perfect mixture of the last couple albums, whether you got like the fast, heavy moments of Ghost Lights, the very emotional moments of Moonglow, and of course some new stuff that's going on as well throughout this album, just giving it its great own entity and continuation of Avantasia.
Yeah. I think I didn't really think about what I wanted to do. I didn't have a goal or target when I started to work on the album. Some people said that it sounds a bit like going back to the roots, but I certainly didn't intend to do so. I think it may be, and that's Sasha's theory, producer, that, because of the situation that we all know that we had for the past 2.5 years, with the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything, I was forced to to work in isolation. And I had, fortunately, right before the pandemic hit, I had a company build a studio in my house, and a real good studio. I had one before, but that's a proper one now. And so I was presented with a situation where I was in isolation on my own. I had so much time on my hands, nothing else to do. Couldn't go out, couldn't do anything. So I was just escaping into music. And I thought, okay, if you can't do anything else, why not just use your time now that you're sitting here in isolation and do something and escape to your own little world? And with my studio, I had all possibilities to work and to work on demos and to define the demos, the sound of the album, and the songs and the structures and real little details surrounding it from scratch. I started with a white piece of paper, and I defined the songs from scratch. And also I rediscovered the joy of singing, which may sound strange because a singer should always enjoy singing. No, in the past, I must say, I was singing whenever there was need. I was singing when I was recording an album, or when I had to go on stage, or when we were touring, but I rarely sang just for the sake of it. And with this new album, I rediscovered the joy of singing. I was going into the basement, trying out microphones and vocal chains and amplifiers and compressors and effects and whatever. And I just worked with my voice, and I enjoyed it. I was working with keyboards. I enjoyed it. I did a lot of choirs myself. I did a lot of keyboard arrangements myself. Long story short, it was a very, very personal album. And Sasha said, yeah, that's just like in the old days when you had the time to do all these little things. The early Edguy albums, the earlier Avantasia albums. That's why it sounds so much like you, even in the details. And maybe that's true.
That does make a lot of sense. I mean, especially when you're getting so in depth with everything, and being able to build up a new studio, being able to try out new equipment, and of course with the songwriting and being able to try new things out, you can rediscover a passion that you may have lost or rediscovering again. And I love the fact that you have that love of singing again. That just makes me so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it was also, I think I discovered that my voice was there was a freshness to my voice that I hadn't heard. I mean, I was on a good way, I thought. Moonglow was one of my strongest vocal performances, that whole album, in years, because even then, my voice felt like it had recovered a little bit, because I had slowed down my pace prior to Moonglow already, because in the past 20 years, everybody knows the amount of records I've written and tours I've done, it was quite a lot given my age. I had done 19 albums in 22 years or something like that, and respective world tours, like 12, 13 world tours, 500 interviews for every album. Long story short, my voice was quite, my whole body and mind, we were really, it was challenging and demanding. And I think it was a tendency that started during the Moonglow album. When I slowed down my pace, I think my voice got stronger. And now, even though it was a sad reason with the lockdown and the whole situation surrounding this COVID stuff, but still, I think it gave me a way to recover in mentally and also physically, because all the pressure came off. There was no pressure, no expectations. Everybody was busy with their own problems. The world was lying in ruins. The music business was in dire straits. Everybody was busy rearranging their own plans and abandoning and skipping plans and rescheduling tours and releases. Nobody was asking me, hey, Toby, when are you finally going to deliver this or that? And when are you going to do this album, that album? I said, everybody left me alone. And that took a lot of pressure off my shoulders and my voice, I have to say.
Yeah, that had to be a great feeling too. Like even if you didn't realize it, just being able to like recharge your batteries like that, not having that pressure and just being able to work as you want to, obviously with being able to build the studio and everything. And, just that pressure being off of it and then getting back into it with your own accord, maybe that brought the spark back. It definitely sounds that way.
I think so. I think when I listen to the album now, what I can sense is that the album is very fresh. It sounds fresh. It's got all the trademarks. It doesn't sound unfamiliar. Some people would say some songs sound even like I've written them before. I would call that a handwriting or a signature sound. But in general, I think it's fresh and new, and it sounds like you can hear, at least that's how I perceive it, you can hear how much joy is in that record, even though some of the songs are quite a bit melancholic and, of course, have quite some deeper aspect regarding the lyrics. But I think in general, you can hear that this album was put together with a lot of love and that I enjoyed doing it. And yeah, I feel very, very close. It's a very personal album, and I'm really happy. It's the only thing that is a bit annoying is that it comes out in real strange times, and the music business is not what it used to be. If this album would have come out in '82, well, that's a bit too much. 82 is probably a bit too early. But if it came out in 82, I think this would be a real big success, which in essence means that it's coming out 40 years late and I'm completely dated. If it came out in 82, by the way, I would introduce Michael Kiske to the world and Jeff Tate. So this would be a real success in 82.
Oh, I love that. And I love the fact that you did bring the gang back for this album. And, there's some new voices going on as well, too. But, the fact that you have like so many great staples a part of the band and being able to like showcase their vocal talents. And of course, your vocal talents as well, too. Like you were mentioning, it's just like I can hear how happy you are during when I hear your vocal performances on this album. I think the Moonflower people, I think, is a great example of that. Like when I hear the chorus, I got the biggest grin when I heard that because it sounded like your heart and soul was in that in a way that not that it's ever was gone, but it just like, it felt like a rejuvenation, especially in the chorus of that, just like hearing your heart and soul on that.
Thank you very much. And the funny thing is that song has a very special sound even in the choirs, because that's pretty much, that song is me in the chorus. And it's not just me. That song is also Bob Catley in the chorus. It's us two singing the backing vocals of that song. And it for some reason it gives it some special sound, some special timbre, as we say. So I really like that song as well, and it's so typical Avantasia and also Magnum, I would say. I really love that song, and it's so old-fashioned in such a beautiful way. I think it's nothing contemporary about this song, and I thought it was really funny that my record company. My record company's representative, who's responsible for us, my A&R guy, that he suggested that song to be the first or second single, because he said, well, Toby, I have to say, usually I don't like that kind of AOR sounding song. I didn't even think it was an AOR song. To me, it was just an old-fashioned, completely uncontemporary song, metal rock anthem, whatever you call it. But he called it AOR, 80s AOR, which I thought, okay, whatever you call it, it doesn't change the song. I love it. But he said, I usually don't like this kind of music, this AOR stuff so much, but this is so great. This is so great. I really love that song. And so, I think we might have hit a string with that one. Is that the right way of putting it? To hit a string, hit a chord. Stroke. We struck a chord. That's the right thing, I think. Excuse me for my English. My German is a bit better, but some people would argue. My wife would probably argue.
Oh no, that's quite all right. And I knew what you meant by that. And yeah, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that as well too. Like I feel like that would be such a strong live staple song. Like if you throw that into the set list, like I feel like everyone in the crowd would be singing along with it. And it just has that great arena feel behind it. Just like, again, like when you hit the choruses and everything, I just imagine this wall of sound taking over the whole venue. It just has that kind of power of an emotion behind it on an album that's full of great power metal, great emotional songs, and it just hits so many different layers and great diversity. I love it so much for that.
Thank you. We did it on a couple of shows this summer. We did, I don't know, like 13 or 14 shows this summer here in Europe, the festival circuit, and a couple of open air shows. And we played it. I think we didn't play it in Wacken, but we played it pretty much everywhere else after it came out, and it went down really well. I can confirm this. It was really this fist pumping, anthemic, us against the world feeling song in a positive way, not aggressive, not negative. It worked really well. I think I have a feeling this whole album would work really well because the songs are a bit shorter than they used to be in the past. It was getting out of control with our songwriting, or with my songwriting, because when we made set lists for the last tour, I found out that, or I had to realize that most of those songs, you cannot just skip one or two songs or exchange them or have a substitute for this song. And because it's like whenever you change one or two songs, you exchange them, the whole statics of the show falls over because one song is 7 minutes and one is 9 minutes and one is 12 minutes long. So my goal, that was the only goal I had for this album, was keep it a bit shorter every song. It's just don't beat around the bush. Give every song what it needs. Give every song, don't cut anything out that is essential to the song, but don't overdo it. Just keep it brief. And I think that's also what makes the album really fresh. I will never have 2 minutes, 20 songs. They're all between, I would say, 3:30 and 5 minutes. And one song, of course, is 10 minutes something, but it's not averagely 7 minutes. And that's something I'm really glad about, because that was getting out of control with Avantasia.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely see that. Although I am a fan of longer songs, I'm such a fan of being able to let the songs go as long as they need to. But
absolutely,
the fact that like you mentioned with this album, I feel the songs are as long as they need to on this album too. I mean, sometimes that short and sweet feeling behind it is all that you need. And I mean, especially when you got like the more up tempo songs on there, like you don't need to go into long instrumental moments on there. Sometimes you just need that punch to go right from beginning to end, and it works so well.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. It's like I am the first to allow a song, or to let a song be 10, 12, 15 minutes long. I mean, you can tell by my discography that I've never been against long songs, and I love it. I love how Richard Wagner, for example, how he builds up tension over 4 minutes. Now, of course, with the attention span of nowadays folks, you will not get very far if you have a 4-minute build-up of tension in a song. Still, I allow those things to happen. Like, for example, Arabesque, the last song, it takes, I think, 2.5 minutes until the vocals start. And it's a very, very, very intense build-up of tension. But sometimes in metal, people mistake long for good. And sometimes it's just like, okay, how many long epics do you have on the album? On the album? Oh, just 2. That's probably not my favorite album. No, but sometimes in metal, people just repeat and repeat stuff over and over again. And sometimes I have a feeling that bands, I don't want to badmouth anybody. Everybody should do what they want to do. But sometimes I have a feeling people just put stuff in there to make a song long and repeat stuff over and over again. And another B section and a C section. Well, C section is something different. But anyway, a D section and an E section, and a C section in the middle, and then, a pregnancy. And no, but it's really, really, I try not to put anything there that doesn't belong there. And with this record, I said, okay, what if we don't end up having a 75 minutes record as we had on the previous one? Of course, value for money. But once people are done with the album, they are completely done. They're empty and sweaty and I can't listen to it again. And that's something I didn't want to have with this album. I wanted to have an album where people would say, well, it's over already. It's just been 53 minutes. I want to listen to it again. So, and I also think, after talking to some people, I also think we achieved that.
Yeah, that was one thing that instantly came to my mind, especially the first time I was able to listen to it all the way through, is that it has that instant replay value. Like as soon as it's over, I wanted to start it all the way over again and just be able to keep listening to it, because every song has that great feeling behind it. I mean, of course, there's so many different tempos and so many great guest vocalists being able to shine in so many different ways. And that's what holds my attention more than anything. I mean, whether it is a longer song, whether it's a shorter song, just like being able to have that replay value behind it. Every song on this album has that.
Yeah, and that's something I really love as well. But now imagine if the album would be twice as long. I'm not sure people would sit, in the movie theater, and after Lord of the Rings is over, they would stand up and scream for encores. They're probably like, oh wow, that was massive, let's go home and fall asleep. And that's something I didn't want to have. I love Lord of the Rings. I don't want to badmouth that one either. But that's something I tried to achieve, something where people would afterwards say, "What? It's over already? Let me hear it again." And that's better than having an album when after 9 out of 11 songs, people would say, "Okay, it's 2 more. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's fight through those 2 other songs as well."
Oh, it's totally understandable. And yeah, I mean, just from the fan perspective, I do love the fact that it is a bit shorter and I'm able to have that replay value behind it. And I gotta imagine for yourself too, like you mentioned, like being able to throw in some new songs in the set list. I mean, that has to be a great feeling too, to be able to, obviously show off the new album in the right lights, and the fact that you have more songs to be able to choose from off the new album as well too, with the shorter length as well.
Absolutely. It makes it much easier because, again, an experience from the last tour. You just think, okay, I would like to play. I think it was somewhere where Jorn couldn't play, and I wanted to play another Ronnie song. But I think the only short song that we had that Ronnie could sing was, I think, Starlight, and for some reason we didn't do it. Ronnie Atkins. Who was on tour with us. Jorn couldn't do 1 or 2 of the shows, so we said, okay, let's skip one of his songs, let's do 1 more of those. But it didn't work because there were not too many to choose from. It was just every song was so super long, and I think we skipped Lucifer then and tried to find a short replacement, but we don't have so many short replacement songs. And especially when you're playing a festival, you have those tight curfews, and even if you're the headliner, I think it was somewhere in Sweden, it was even a storm, so the show got postponed. I think it was delayed 35 minutes or something. Anyway, it's not easy when you have only 2 long songs to make a quick change in the set list. And now I feel, those songs are great. They're great. It was all of a sudden, it was just, we had like 7 or 8 songs to choose from to do a video to. In the past, it was never the question, which song do you think has the best musical approach or delivers the best musical possibilities to be the first single. In the past, the record company was just going through running to the duration of the songs and said, okay, we have 2 possible singles. That was not because those 2 singles would be good songs for radio. It was those 2 songs were the only ones that were shorter than 4.5 minutes. So that was basically how they chose the singles in the past, and which is not entirely true, because I think the last album we started with a 10-minute single, The Raven Child, but that was another weird idea of mine. So yeah, it's going against the grain. But what I liked this time, it was just we had 9 potential singles.
Yeah, and every single one of them you can throw into the set list, you can throw as a single, and it's all the more reason to be able to check out the album when it comes out tomorrow, because it does have hit after hit behind it, whether it is a single, whether it's something that could be thrown into the live sets. And I can only imagine, just, obviously with the pandemic and lockdowns and everything, being able to take the live music away from us, the fact that shows are starting to come back, that the fact you've been able to get back on tour, being able to hit these festivals and playing these shows again, has to be such a great feeling. And I gotta imagine after the release tomorrow, when more dates are able to come in the horizon, that's got to be such a great feeling, knowing that you can be back playing those shows.
I hope so. I have to be honest. In Europe, the situation is not too easy right now. I think it's not so much that, you don't have restrictions. You can do shows, and I'm not sure COVID is too much of an issue, but the economic tail, that the economic damage, not only from COVID but also from the war in Ukraine and everything, it is quite difficult for people. The economics here in Europe. So with all the shows that got postponed during the pandemic, and this whole it's like there's a lot of traffic out there on the road next year. So it is challenging, but I think we have a winning album here, and I am optimistic we can play some shows. Certainly I can say it's not going to be as it used to be prior to the pandemic, when you could easily book 60 shows and just have a string of shows and go on tour and do a proper tour. It's going to be a bit different, I think, but I'm optimistic there will be something. And I can say this year, playing the first shows in 2.5 years this summer, after that, well, very, very dull time. That was a big relief. That was so great. I remember because during the lockdown time and everything, I was not too worried. I didn't really think about it, because you can't change things anyway. So I did what I can do best. I wrote music, I produced it, and I thought, okay, I'm going to stick my head out of the window once this is over. So it takes as long as it takes. But when we finally got back on the road again, and we were flying down to Spain, and I looked out of the airplane window, and I saw us approaching the coastline of Spain, southern Spain. I almost had tears in my eyes, because I thought that was the first time I realized what had been at stake, because I felt such a great relief. I felt like, Jesus Christ, I have my job back. And that was something that was, to me, really, really, until that moment, I hadn't thought of how much it must have affected me subconsciously. And and it felt great. And I want to go out on the road again, and I want to tour. I want to play shows. Let's see how it works with all the challenges, but I'm sure we're going to make something work.
Oh, I really hope so. And I hope everything does go in that right direction, because this album is an album that does deserve that live promotion, being able to hit as many places as financially and feasibly as possible, being able to hit all the right areas, and being able to put together such a great set list, which I gotta imagine, just again with these songs, being able to incorporate them with the classics, it's going to be a killer night. And I'm sure it was for all the festival shows you were able to do now, but just like everything coming in the future, and if there is the potential of coming back over here to the States, I can't wait to see what could happen with that. And just being able to promote this great album coming out tomorrow, which even though it's only been in my possession for a couple weeks, I do feel like it is potentially my favorite work that you've ever done to date. And if this is what you're doing now, feeling re-inspired, I'm so excited to see what's going to be happening in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Thank you, very kind words. And I really hope we're going to come back to the US. I really hope it's going to happen, and in which way ever, or whichever way. But thank you for your nice words. Thank you. you. It's really appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to make sure I get that in because I know it's a busy time right now with press and everything. And I know, unfortunately, I do got to let you go, even though, just like some of the longer songs, I could probably go a couple hours being able to want to discuss things with you. But I'm so fortunate for the time you've been able to spend with me, being able to talk about everything in the world of Avantasia and being able to promote this album coming out tomorrow through Nuclear Blast. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your interest, and thank you for supporting it, and thank you for waving the flag for my music. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to do it, and I can't wait to be able to talk to you again for your next venture.
Thank you very much. We'll do that.
You have a great rest of the day.
Have a great rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.